because I have the magical ability to sculpt and talk at the same time, as you can see, if you guys have any questions while I'm working, feel free to ask, okay? Then fuck it, don't. Like I care. Come on, man, I'm trying to work here, all right? Damn it. Can I get a break? I'm sorry, go on, man. I love Siobhan. I love Siobhan, and there are different uses for all these different kinds of clays. Siobhan is usually used, in my case, for maquettes, figures that are going to be about this tall, maybe even this tall, and things that you can't have dry out. Also, you might use Siobhan for something that's going to be very, or Roma plastilina, for something that's going to be rather large, but that you don't want to have to maintain. I remember right around 1992, Roma plastilina was impossible to get in Los Angeles. Impossible to get for just that brief time, about a year. And I remember going around asking everyone, what's going on with the Roma? I don't know. I can't get it either. I'm trying to sculpt out of stuff too. It's impossible to find. Who has it all? Who's been buying it up from every fucking art store on earth? I'm talking to my friend Bill one day on the phone, who was at the time working at Stan Winston's on a little thing called Jurassic Park. I said, Bill, man, this is fucked. I can't get Roma plastic. Yeah, that's because we bought it. I was like, wait. What do you mean? You at Stan's, you bought all. Wait a minute. You're not sculpting those dinosaurs out of this shit. So, oh yeah, you're sculpting the life-size Tyrannosaurus Rex out of Roma plastilina. So yeah, we don't have to maintain it. I was like, well, thanks. Now we can't get me in the entire town. That was weird. Chivant became very, very popular, though, in the mid-90s when people started using platinum silicone to do a lot of things, and some of you probably don't know because you're all into digital, but platinum silicones hate sulfur-based mediums. If it's even in the same room as sulfur, it can go wrong and be all gooey and stuff. I know there's at least one person I already spoke to. I don't know where he is, but I know he knows what I'm talking about. I know he does. He's still on my side. Now, as far as, does that answer your question? As far as the digital medium, though, I'm kidding when I act so sour about it. I think that it has opened the doors to obviously a tremendous possibility for visual effects. And my firm belief, though, still, is that it is the marriage of the two mediums that makes for the most convincing stuff. And that's not to say we still have a place here. We really do. I think the problem is that there are people that are of the mindset that it has to be one or the other. And that's just not the case. You know, it's when you combine these two things, real action effects work and digital effects work, that you end up with things that are incredibly convincing, where people have no idea how you did it. A great example of that is a rather grim film called Irreversible, where they used digital work, and they used fake heads, and they used props and editing and every trick in the book to convince you that someone's head's getting bashed in. And it looked pretty upsettingly good. So.
As you progress through this sculpture right now, have you done any illustrations, or are you developing this as you go?
I am developing this as I go. I did a very quick sketch of something that looked like a Franken retard, and it just didn't work. So I don't think we'll be using that today. No.
So do you mainly use the web when you're just trying to flesh out an idea, or?
No, I use the web for finished design. I mean, I'm a very unusual designer in the sense that I design in clay. And most designers design either on paper or now, of course, on the computer. So I'm something of an anomaly and kind of a head scratcher for studios. They go, well, how do you do this stuff? What are you doing? It's very strange. You know, shouldn't they be that confused about digital? How do you do that? How do you get it to, you know, they're all confused by clay. Whoa, wait a minute. You form it with your hand? That's so strange. I don't understand. It boggles my mind. Which I find slightly annoying. Although it is interesting, the number of people that are involved in digital work, whether that be gaming or stuff for television or film, that come to my studio to learn, you know, the basics of actual tactile sculpture. They feel like they want to get a better handle on the real thing. And they usually feel like they benefit a great deal from it. So,
Do you not want to tell us what you're making so that you're not under pressure for when it's done?
no, it's that there really is no plan. I mean, obviously it's going to end up being some kind of alien-looking thing, but because I design in clay, sometimes I'm never 100%, at least for demos, I'm never 100% sure what it is I'm going to end up with.
How does that compare to your common workflow when you're working with a studio? So what information do you have at the beginning?
Right.
What do you work out in advance?
Generally what happens is I get a script, I look at it, read it, find the areas where creatures and whatnot are described, and then I usually have a discussion before I get started with the director and usually the producer. And I go from there. You know, I say, well, it looks like in this thing we've got, you know, furry things. You know, it takes place on a snow planet, so it looks like they should probably be furry. To blend into their environment, they should probably have white or gray fur. It says here that it eats an entire school bus full of nuns, so it should probably have a very large mouth. It should probably be big, toweringly huge. You know, that kind of back and forth.
In that first round, do you like to sculpt at this size, this scale, or will you do small thumbnail type sculpts while you're fleshing out ideas?
Well, to be honest, most of the time I am asked to do drawings. I mean, I can draw. I'm not a brilliant draftsman, but I'm certainly good enough, and I usually am asked to do drawings first because they are always so squeamish about a sculpture. Doesn't a sculpture take you, what, days? And it's like, no, it takes me about an hour, hour and a half to do a rough concept, about as long as it would take me to do a very rendered out drawing. They still don't get it. They still don't believe it. It's very strange. Yeah, you know.
When you're saying an hour and a half, you're talking about a bust or on your maquettes, how long would you say a standard maquette?
I mean, it depends how far I want to take it. If it's just a rough end, it'll only take me a few hours at most. You know?
Do you build your own armatures, or do you have
Oh, yeah.
somebody do that for you?
No, I just make them myself. They're very simple.
Do you ever take anything to the level of wax? Do you ever work in wax?
Very recently, I have decided to try to put out some kits, even though it's sort of like 20 years too late. But so yeah, I'm probably going to be transferring some of my older stuff to wax and then refining it. People, you know, it seems like the consumers of those sort of things are demanding enormously high quality. So probably higher quality than I can get in just Chavant or Sculpey alone. So
Do you make all your own molds?
that I hire someone for, because that's a drag. But I mean, I know how to do it. I just hate doing it. So
How do you feel about Sculpey? I've had a problem with it drying out, cracking.
Sculpey is an amazing thing. Sculpey is an amazing medium. It just takes, it's a real learning curve there. The best thing to do with Sculpey, when you're baking it, is to bake it slowly at a low heat over a long period of time. And you'll get very good results that way.
You ever sculpt on top of the human butt form?
Yeah, when I'm doing an appliance or something like that, appliance being like an old age makeup or a mask that has to fit someone specifically. Okay, now I want you to take note of the fact that I keep rotating the sculpture, okay, so that I can see it from all angles, so that I can see how it looks and feels from all angles, okay? So look at the profile, look at the 3/4, look at the head-on. You know, you see a very, very distinct feel come through here. It's very, very important also to know anatomy. You know, I don't think I can stress that enough. You obviously don't need to know every strand of fascia and underlying muscle, but you definitely need to have a handle on how at least surface anatomy looks. I don't think there's a mistake I see more commonly in beginning sculpting than a lack of knowledge of anatomy. You know, or shall I say a lack of anatomical knowledge.
I'm just noticing, as you're throwing on clay, you have a very symmetrical approach. Like it's not a tactile medium, but you have hands on both sides, and you're working symmetry just like that. Is that common to you? Is that something that's just...
Yes, it's something that I think I've always done because symmetry is very important. You know, maintaining the balance is important, I think.
Do you, after you've done that base build-up, you break symmetry for your character later on?
Yeah, well, I find that you usually don't have to go out of your way to break it. You're usually pretty asymmetrical because while nature's imperfect, it's a hell of a lot more perfect than anything I'll ever do. And you'd be surprised. This may appear symmetrical, but if you held this up to a mirror, whew. I remember I did a mask when I was about, and this is one of the things that really taught me pay more attention to symmetry. It was a mask I did when I was about 19 or 20, and I was so proud of it. It was called Gothic Demon. It had these little spiky horns and this kind of brownish skin, these big teeth, and a big apey nose, and it was cool, and I was like, wow, I'm amazing, yeah, dude. And then I held it up in the mirror. Like, I was like, cool. And like, woo, one collarbone was like, and one eye was all small, and it was just a big mess. I stopped being so cocky then.
Back to the question, are there any magazines?
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I don't think I have any current subscriptions to anything. I mean, my wife and I have a subscription to Time. Does that count? No? Trying to keep up with what's going on in the world.
Another question I had, I was doing a maquette, and I kind of wanted to sculpt it with a gaping open jaw to give it a little more character. Do you suggest making that a breakaway piece? I was having a lot of problems with it. I did a telescoping piece so I could pull it off and sculpt the tongue. Or do you just get in there with a tool and carve behind the teeth? What would you do?
Ooh. In that particular case, I think I'd have to see it. I'd have to see what you're talking about. I mean, if it's something you're going to mold and go to a lot of trouble on, yeah, you might as well make it a piece that comes out, refine it, mold it separately. Okay, so gradually, more and more, you can see a character coming through here. Okay?
When you received your formal training, as far as like, when you talked about anatomy, was that also something you did, sculpt anatomy, like when you were talking about the crochet, or was this something that you just basically dove into, just design, making the creatures and using anatomy as a basis for what you're designing?
Well, I mean, I guess I initially, started by just, I've never taken any art classes, any formal art classes, but I was always interested in making convincing stuff. So I guess what I did was, I started off by sculpting fantasy characters. The first thing I was doing was sculpting fantasy characters. And, oh, good, we have plenty of time. Gradually, I think as I got older, I started to realize my stuff's not looking convincing enough,
The importance of anatomy.
Yes, and I started to pay a little more attention to it. And there are times when I still look at books and what have you to get certain parts just right. Because you can do a reasonable facsimile and fool people. But to really, really make it super convincing, your anatomy should be very, very strong, I think.
You ever sculpt human busts?
I do. Actually, I've gotten more and more into that. For my father's 60th birthday, I sculpted Lincoln. And I made it out of silicone, and I made it all hyper real and stuff, and it was nice.
Why Lincoln?
Because that's the man my father admires most. He was a historian, and he just. I tried to sort of dance around it once at dinner. I said, "Dad, there was one person you admired." In fact, actually, I think I'd already started doing the Lincoln. And I said, "Who do you admire most?" He said, "Well, I don't know, for the tough decision-making and the way that he handled the country during a terrible time, I'd have to say FDR. But if it was someone not... I mean, of all the presidents ever, who would you say really was the... Well, gee, I guess in many ways Washington went... Well, not... Well, he was the first, and that's nice. But somebody who, who freed the slaves, maybe. That'd be good. Maybe someone like that. How many people here are specifically interested in creature and character design, and that's why they chose to come to this school? Yay. Nobody. How many people are interested in getting into digital, and that's it, and that's all they care about, getting into digital, big explosions, tough guys walking away from explosions without looking back? How many people are interested in that?
I think they're afraid of you.
Good. If I see one more tough guy going, walking away from an explosion, I'm going to throw up. On that kid. I'm joking. No, don't be like that. It's just, I don't.
Do you have any suggestions on how to keep the eyes perfectly spherical, in the cases that they...
Yes, I do. Space, final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: seek out new life, to explore strange new world civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. See? And then you sculpt the lids around it.
What are those called? I've never used one.
What are what?
The little plastic dealies you're using.
You can get these at brain aneurysm. Wait. Yeah, there. You can get them at Kitcraft. You can get iForms, types of iForms at Michael's. Doesn't seem like it has much character. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Trying to say my shit ain't got no character. It's all right. Oh, that's all right. We're gonna fix that shit for you right now, all right? Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. There's some reason why your shit ain't got no character. Mr. Character Sculptor. All right. No, that's cool. I'll remember that too. Well, I guess one of the things I'm trying to do is, without giving it expression, give it character, okay? I don't think that character is created by giving it an expression. To me, an expression is almost like an easy way out to get a feeling of drama. You should be able to get incredible drama just in your sculpting, just in the face itself. Now, do you see, though, even though it's not making an expression per se, that it has a lot of character? Do you see that? I'm not being funny. I'm being very serious, actually.
Boris Karloff mouth area.
Yeah. I mean, I pick things out of every face that I see. Almost everyone that I meet, has something interesting going on. And it's something that kind of goes into a mental filing cabinet that I keep there. And if I am sculpting something, sometimes it'll come out,
Now, if you were assigned to do something with fur, would you scratch the surface of this or just cheat?
I'll show you exactly what I would do. That's a good point. So let's say that I do want to add some hair, and believe it or not, hair adds so much to a character. So much.
As a professional, do you end up doing a lot of high concept work, or is that just for personal stuff and when you're trying for
What's high concept?
the stuff you see at ZBrush a lot, like giant, crazy, impractical characters that look cool?
I don't design impractical characters. That's called high concept? You fucking break. To me, high concept is when the shit looks real, and you've got an audience member who goes, I'm disturbed by that. High concept is not some goofy, multi-limbed, multi-mouthed, surprise creature that opens up into a billion parts with tentacles and dicks, and that's not, to me, that's most certainly not high concept. That is, throw a bunch of eye candy at the audience. To me, design should be simple and pure. One idea per creature.
So what is your favorite monster movie?
Alien.
Oh, you're right. There it is.
Alien is perfect. I mean, the facehugger, specifically the facehugger stage, is the most amazing extraterrestrial ever made for a film, to me. I think the facehugger is real. That looks real to me. It's highly, highly disturbing. Hi.
Do you like the chest bursters?
Do I like what?
The chest bursters.
The chestburster creature. Have you seen that? How old are you?
Aliens is a fantastic movie. We watch it all the time.
Oh, is this your son? I'm going to be bringing you up on formal charges of child abuse, sir. He looks actually really untraumatized. You jaded kids these days. I am, by the way, very sorry I've been using language. I didn't realize how young he was. Don't worry about it, Jordu. Say what you want. Hey, we say it all the time. I let him see Alien, Exorcist, whatever. I kid. Anyway, yeah, I think the chest bursters are great. I think one of the things that is so groundbreaking and kind of risky about that design was the concept of giving it chrome teeth. I remember now, my parents didn't want me to see it when it came out in 1979, and I was 13. 7 years old. My parents gave me a little note to give to the ticket taker. We allow our son, Jordu Schell, to see the R-rated film Alien, directed by Mr. Ridley Scott. We allow him permission as his parents, And I went up there and I was like, had my note ready, and I put up my money and she, that was the ticket taker. I was like, you don't want my note? No, baby, I don't need your note. Awesome. And I was so scared before that movie started because I knew that, my dad, bless him, I said, as a monster fan, and wanting to see this thing desperately, I said, Dad, what's a monster like? You got to tell me what's it like. Fangs and eyeballs, eye stalks, what's it got, Well, it goes through a few transitional stages. I thought, whoa, it changes? He said, oh, yeah. It starts off kind of like a crab, and I said, okay, that's cool. He said, and then it turns into like a orange snake. And I thought, okay, getting a little whack, but go on. He said, and then it turns into like a big gorilla. Now, obviously, this was long before the world at large knew exactly what it looked. We all know now that it looks like a phallic symbol with machine hosiery and ribs, and it's so part of our culture now. It's like Freddy, we all know what it looks like. But my dad, who had only seen the film once, and the thing is so beautifully shot, you only get sort of impressions of what it feels like. And I said, a gorilla? Dad, that sounds like the worst monster ever made. It's like Robot Monster? What are you talking about? It changes from a crab into a snake into a gorilla. I swear on everything I love, this is what my dad said. And I was like, oh, I got to see this thing. Because, everyone was talking about the creature, Everyone was like, oh, it's something all new. No one's ever done anything like it. My God, who is this H.R. Geiger? And so, I went to see it, and I remember coming home, and I was like, Dad, gorilla? And but bless him, he got me that doll. You know that doll, that the thing that comes out and everything. It was on sale. They were taking them off the. They were taking them out of circulation because it was too scary for kids. The doll. It was inappropriate for kids, and I saw it there at Kitty City or Toys R Us or whatever, and this big Kenner box with this thing in it. I was like, Dad, please. I was like, all right, it was only $10 or something. Actually, it was $14. Have you seen this thing on eBay? You must have, right? You being an Alien fan, right? Do you know how much I think? What? You're 7. I don't believe. Is he buying things on eBay without you knowing? I can't believe the world we live in. That thing is worth, in good condition, like $300 or something now. It's ridiculous. It was a cool ass doll though.